One big challenge that you might face in a virtual classroom is the lack of response or miscommunication and misunderstanding between colleagues or classmates. It's very difficult to schedule time to meet as a group when there are different time zones. It's also very difficult to make sure that expectations of when to speak with each other and to respond to emails can also be a little challenging. So I'm going to show you an example of an email thread between two fake students of a scenario that could occur in a virtual classroom and give you some tips on maybe what a teacher could do in response to this conflict and what students could do to better respond within the conflict. So this conflict is between, again, two fake students, and it involves a student who is trying to reach out to another student to say, hey, we're in a group together, let's meet up. Now ignore the timestamps on these. Ideally, this would have occurred over 5 days or so. But initially, the group leader reaches out and says, hey, we're in a group together. When can you meet up? In this, her partner doesn't respond for a while. So she says, hey, it's been a few days. Can you meet up on Thursday? So she gives a specific day that they would like to meet. She still doesn't get a response from him, so she responds again and says, hey, haven't heard from you. I've created a Google Doc for you to add some suggestions of what we can do with this project. Here it is. And on Saturday, she suggests to meet as a possible time to go over the project details. Her partner finally responds and says something along the lines of, sorry, it's so late, busy week. I don't really understand the project. What do we do? Now, in that response, it can be very frustrating for the other partner because project details are within the description of the activity. So maybe that partner could have done a better job of looking through the activity and responding in a more productive way. Unfortunately, the student leader then responds sarcastically by saying, thanks for responding, but the projects are pretty clear. Again, that's not really an effective way to respond to their partner, although I do understand her frustrations with his lack of response. She then asks again to meet on Saturday. He doesn't respond. She emails him again and says, hey, really frustrated by this. The project's due. We're just going to submit what we have. Can you meet on Sunday to go over it? He then responds again by saying, I've added comments to Google Docs. Hope that helps. And that's pretty much it. And doesn't really feel his end of the bargain in terms of contributing to the project. Finally, the group leader ends it by saying, thanks for the addition, but very frustrated by how this project went. She expresses herself using relatively nice words, and then she says, maybe we could have done something differently in the beginning to work better as partners. And then she just ends up by submitting what I have. So this is an example of a situation that could occur between two students. And the hope is that as the students work through this, that maybe next time they could do a better job at setting up when they need to meet for earlier in the week rather than later in the week. And if the student leader does reach out to the professor, maybe the professor could then talk to the whole class in general and say, hey, we really need to do a better job at working together as a group. Everybody's grades rely on everybody else. And in some cases, maybe a different grading situation needs to set up. But again, that's not something really the students can do. But if this does become a persistent problem, maybe that needs to be reevaluated. I also think in general, maybe setting up specific times of when the groups need to meet right after class, or having kind of like a group study hall time that groups just generally meet to talk about these times. They're already used to meeting at a certain time on a day for class. Maybe you just set up another study hall time to meet at another day at time. So thank you for listening to this, and we'll move on to the next.